Okay, today we're in section 1.1d and we're going to talk about equations with fractions, and I'm going to show you some tricks to make those easier to do. So these are our goals. By the end of this section, you should be able to understand the meaning of linear expression and linear equation. You should be able to solve multi-step equations with rational number coefficients, including equations whose solutions require expanding and using the distributive property and collecting like terms. And you should be able to write equations that model real-world problems. So let's take a look at these. These are all equations that use fractions. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to look at them and circle the ones that you think are equivalent or equal. So take just a second, turn off the video, and circle the ones that you think are equivalent. Okay, now I want you to actually go back and attempt to solve all of them. So take a minute, go back and solve all of them. Do your best. I'm going to quickly give you the answers to these. So equation number 1 is x equals 7. Equation number 2 is x equals 4. This is x equals 7 and x equals 7. So if you circled these three and said they were equivalent, you were correct. So when you were looking at these, did you find some that were easier to solve than others? So let's go ahead and start doing some examples, okay? So I'm on letter C now. So we're going to try to eliminate the fractions so that you don't have to deal with them. And I'm going to show you how. So let's go to number 2. So number 2 really says x minus 1 divided by 4 equals 6. And this is not the order of our to-do list, but in order to get at x, we have to get rid of the 4. So what's the opposite of division? Well, that's multiplication. So let me rewrite. So we're going to multiply each side by 4 so we can get rid of the 4 over here. So we have x minus 1 equals 24. Then we're going to undo that addition and subtraction. So I'm going to add 1 to each side. So I have x equals 25. X is by itself, so we're done. The value of x that makes that true is 25. Okay, so let's try to get rid of the fractions here. So before we eliminate any fractions, we have to make sure you have the same denominator. So we have these fourths. I'm going to make this x over 2 into fourths. So how'd you get from 2 to 4? You multiplied by 2. What you do to the denominator, you need to do to the numerator. So now I have 2x over 4. And if I multiply everything by the denominator, or 4 over 1, then it cancels out all of the denominators. So I'm left with 2x plus 1 equals 7. A lot less mess than with those fractions. So I'm going to subtract 1. I'm going to undo that addition and subtraction like our to-do list. So I have 2x equals 6. I'm going to divide each side by 2. So I have x equals 3. Okay, let's go on to number 5. 4, actually. Sorry, 4. Number 4. So this time we have 1/3 2x minus 4 equals negative 6. Let me rotate that back around. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute. Let me rewrite this. I'm going to multiply that 1/3 times everything inside. So when I multiply 1/3 times 2x, I have 2x over 3. And then when I multiply 1/3 times negative 4, I have negative 4/3. Now I'm going to multiply everything by the denominator to get rid of it. So I have 2x minus 4 over here, but make sure you are still multiplying by 3 here. So 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. Okay, so now I'm going to add 4 to each side, which gives me 2x equals negative 14. I'm going to undo multiplication by dividing each side by 2. So x is negative 7. Alrighty, let me copy number 5 down. 2x divided by 3 plus 4 equals 14 divided by 3. So again, I'm going to multiply everything by that 3, that denominator, so I get rid of it. So I'm going to cancel that, but you still have to multiply the 3 by the constant. So I have 2x plus 12. That's an easy thing to forget. If it's not a fraction, you have to multiply it by the 3. And then I have 14 on this side because the denominator is canceled. So I'm going to subtract 12. I'm going to undo that addition with subtraction. Then I have 2x equals 2. I'm going to undo that multiplication with division. So I have x equals 1. Moving right along. So number 6. So we have denominators of 5, so we don't have to do anything to change those. We're just going to multiply everything by the denominator that we have. So that's canceled. This is canceled, but don't forget to multiply the 5 by the number, not a fraction. So I have 4 equals 5 times 3x, which is 15x, plus 1. I'm going to subtract that 1 from both sides. So I have 3 equals 15x. At this point, you might be saying to yourself, well, this is a little weird. So I'm going to undo this multiplication because we want to get x alone. I'm going to divide by 15. So I have x alone. Now I have x is 3/15. We should always put those into lowest terms. So x equals 1/5. Make sure your fraction's in lowest terms. No need to make that into a decimal. Number 7, negative 2x minus 5 divided by 3 equals 3. So this says divided by 3. I'm going to multiply everything by 3 or undo that division with multiplication. So I have negative 2x minus 5 equals 9. The numerator does not get multiplied in a fraction. It just stays the same. The only thing you're going to actually multiply is numbers that are not fractions. So now I'm going to add 5. So I have negative 2x left over here. That's canceled, and I have 14 here. So I'm going to divide each side by negative 2 to undo that multiplication. Make sure you take the negative sign with you. And I have x is negative 7, because a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Couple more to do. Number 8. Okay, this one because we have to get everything to have the same denominator before we can cancel. So my least common multiple of all these numbers, the denominators, is 12. So I'm going to leave this alone. Well, let me rewrite first. I'm going to rewrite our original so I can work with it. We want everything to have a denominator of 12. So how did you get from 3 to 12? Well, you multiplied by 4. We're going to do that to the numerator also. How did you get from 4 to 12? Well, you multiplied by 3. We're also going to do that to the numerator. So now we can just go ahead and multiply by 12 to get rid of the denominator. Once you figure out that common denominator, this problem is not many steps, because now I just have x plus 4 equals 3 left. I'm going to undo that addition by subtracting negative 4 from each, or subtracting 4, sorry. So 3 minus 4 is negative 1. So it really does simplify things if you can just get rid of that fraction. Number 9, negative 6 equals 3x minus 12 over 3. Sometimes that'll be in parentheses, sometimes it won't. In this case, it really doesn't matter. So I want to undo this division. So I'm going to multiply each side by 3. So now I have negative 18, and these fractions canceled, so I'm left with 3x minus 12 over here. I'm going to undo that subtraction by adding 12 to each side. Canceled over here, and I'm left with negative 6 equals 3x. I'm going to divide each side by 3. X equals negative 2, because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Okay, we have one more of these. Times, if your numbers are good, it doesn't make sense to clear. And I'm going to show you. You're looking for half, right? Half times whatever's in the parentheses if you distribute. Well, 4 is even, 12 is even. So this one's just going to be easier if you take half of 4x, which is 2x, divided by 2, half of 12, which is 6, dividing by 2. It's a whole lot easier than doing all the work to clear. So I have negative 6 minus 6 on each side. So I have 2x equals negative 4. And when I divide by 2, x is negative 2. You could have cleared, but it would have been a lot more work than just taking half of everything inside the parentheses. So sometimes you got to look ahead. You can't always say, oh, there's fractions, I have to clear them. You have to look at your numbers. Okay, that's it for now.